going on, everyone? It's Steve Larsen, and today we are going to talk about how to compete with your attractive character.
I've spent the last 4 years learning from the most brilliant marketers today. And now I've left my 9-to-5 to take the plunge and build my $1 million business. The real question is, how will I do it without VC funding or debt, completely from scratch? This podcast is here to give you the answer. Join me and follow along as I learn, apply, and share marketing strategies to grow my online business, using only today's best internet sales funnels. My name is Steve Larsen, and welcome to Sales Funnel Radio.
Guys, I'm pumped for today. This is going to be a bunch of fun. A lot of you guys know I was really shy for a long time, right? And I've mentioned that many times, and some of you guys have said, that's not true, Steven, there's no way that's true, right? And I really was, though. I was very shy for a long time. I would say I even had near clinical fear of adults. I would see an adult, and I would physically move a different direction, and I did that for a time. And even into my early 20s, I was pretty shy. And when I finally became cognizant of that, it's not that I was like cowering, or I wouldn't speak to anybody else, that I just was doing everything that I could to not engage with human beings, okay? And I don't know really, I don't know why. I don't know why it was that way. I don't know, and not that I was like really recluse, not that I was sitting back all the time going like, it's a person. Like, that's not how I was at all, but there was no way I would be getting on stage now. There was no way I would ever do something like a podcast. The thought of that would freak me out. To have a camera on my face right now, there's no way. I would vastly attest something like that, okay? And when I finally became cognizant, though, that I was that way, and then when I realized and started seeing all these business people, they were these leaders. There were these guys that were like, oh my gosh, check those guys. Look at him. Look at how... oh my gosh, he's so impressive. Look, he speaks and things sway, right? I was like, oh man, how do I develop that? How do I be like that? And I started doing things like door-to-door sales for the explicit reason of learning how to sell in scary environments, right? I mean, I started doing telemarketing for the explicit reason, for just the reason of actually going in, right? And learning how to sell in hard environments where you're constantly getting rejected. And I don't know that necessarily people have to go through that kind of thing. But for me, I chose to do that kind of thing to start molding who I was, right? And who I was trying to be. And it was a really challenging thing to go through. And as I started more and more going through it, I started noticing my ability to speak and to deliver and to give sales messages and things like that obviously started going up. Well, I get over to Funnel Hacking Live and I start working for Russell and I start getting in front of a lot more people. And one of the ways I started breaking, this is actually way before I worked for Russell, several years before, I realized I was like, how do I get even better at this whole stand and deliver concept, right? How do I stand and deliver in front of people? How do I do this? How do I actually become, I don't want to say leader, how do I become a followable person? It's kind of like saying leader. Anyway, but I was trying to figure out how to do that, right? Because from my background and where I was coming from, that was like this insanely hard thing to do, right? And so what I would do is I would take my computer and I would go find videos of people on stage. I did this specifically with Russell Brunson's stuff. And I would, this is way before we ever knew each other, personally. And I would take his videos and videos of him on stage, and I would go in front of a mirror and I would mute the video of him on stage. So it was just, I could just see him, and he'd be like, doing all his gestures and everything. And so I would mirror him and I would mimic him and I would sit around and be like, like moving around all over the place and mirroring and mimicking everything he was doing. And it was so weird. Like, it was weird. It was awkward. And I know that is weird, but it was what I needed, to start breaking out of some of that shell and inside of the realm of business and funnel building and marketing, right? Steve Larsen was born, right? And that's how I started doing it. And it was interesting. So I had been, fast forward, I was working for Russell. I was sitting next to him. I was like, probably, I don't know, like 70 episodes in on Sales Funnel Radio. And I remember there was this time, there's no way it was even that many actually, it's probably like 40-ish, but anyway, there was this time we were running this thing called the FAT event, the Funnel Hackathon event. People would pay 15 grand for 3 days, and I would teach for hours. I mean, man, it was a long freaking time, right? Well, the very first FAT event that we did, the very first Funnel Hackathon event that we did, Russell was doing it. We were vetting out the content. We were making sure everything was awesome and solid. And literally, right before he gets on stage, he turns around to me and he goes, "Hey, dude, do you want to introduce me?" And I always make it a habit, especially when someone of like a lot of influence comes out and says, "Hey, do you want to do this thing?" If they're reaching down saying, "Hey, you want to?" I always say yes. It's my knee-jerk reaction, and then I basically say, "Well, I'll figure out how to do it later." I'll just say yes though, and that has brought me to some really cool places in life. So he said, "Hey, do you want to do this?" It's like, "Yeah." And immediately inside, the room's filled with people. There's like 60 people in there, many millions and millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars collectively inside of that room for the people, very successful people, right? This is a lot of his inner circle, and they know what the heck they're talking about, right? So I was like, crap, I gotta get on. And like, how on earth, right? The whole role of somebody who introduces somebody else is merely to raise the state of the room, so that when the speaker comes on, they don't have to raise the state of the room. They can just walk on and start presenting. Otherwise, the speaker spends a whole bunch of time, get it right. And so he told me that. He's like, "So that's your role." And I was like, crap, how do you, right? It's not like Russell's low energy. How do I introduce Russell Brunson in a way where that suits who he is? Right? That suits his audience. And it was very, very challenging for me. I remember sitting there. I mean, he asked me like 3 minutes ahead of time to go on and do this. And I immediately was like, okay, is there like a script? I mean, is there like a format that good, introducers bring on other big people? Is there? And that was what I was trying to do. And I was like, there's gotta be something. What can I do? And he walked over and he said, "Hey, just make sure you raise the state of the room. That way I don't have to." And I was like, oh crap, okay, like another huge task. Okay, sweet. And inside I was like, oh crap, like, and he could tell I was stressing out. And he knew that I had done all that stuff, like stand in front of a mirror with his videos muted, just like moving around and mimicking what he's doing, right? He knew I had done Doortodoor. He knew I had done, telemarketing. He knew I had done a lot of stuff and became good at them, explicitly so that I could break out of my shell that I knew I was in, instead of fight the fact that I was in one. I accepted that I was in one and just did things to come out of it, right? So he knew that with that background in mind, he turned to me, right? So he asked the question, "Dude, will you introduce me?" I start running through a whole bunch of crap. How do I do it? "Dude, do you have a way to, how would you introduce somebody, man?" And he turned to me, and this is what he said, and this is the reason why I want to share this with you, okay? Because it really, really, really matters. He turned to me and he said, "Dude, you model me. It's quite impressive how you model me. You model me to the T. You do everything that I do. You model me so well. But you have got to have your own voice eventually. Just do it how you would." And it's funny because like I knew that answer, but for him to say it in that way, I was like, huh. And up at that time, like I'd already been publishing. I'd already been doing a whole bunch of stuff. I would already say that I had quote unquote found my voice, right? But when he said, "Dude, you've got to be your own, you got to have your own isms, you got to have your own character, you got to have your own thing," right? And so I started thinking through like, what makes me me, right? These are all fast thoughts that were hitting me as I'm about to walk on stage. And I don't remember what I said, but it went great. The energy in the room got really high. I mean, it's half the reason I yell like crazy, guys. Those are all little things that I do on stage before bringing somebody big on. And it's a bunch of fun. It's a bunch of fun. Anyway, what does this have to do with anything? It has to do with everything. What you have to understand is that inside of your business, okay, let's put that to the side for a second. Just follow me for a second, okay? Inside of your business, push off to the side, inside of your business over here now, right? Your business competes in the marketplace based on how much value it provides, right? If you're very valuable, if you answer a lot of questions, if you solve things for people, if you give things that people want, if you give things that people need, I suggest you go for the wants, not the needs. You make more. But anyway, right? Go ahead and start thinking through like, okay, what value does my business give to the ecosystem, to the market? And that's what you compete on the business side, right? Strengths, right? How can I be the best? How can I deliver more? How can I be better? How can I be more than the other guy, right? And do things completely brand new, totally unique, right? That's really what the business side competes on. Strengths. Your attractive character does not, let's go over here on this side now. Your attractive character does not compete on those things. Is that interesting? Let me explain. There was a book that was, I always saw it was next to me, right? The first office that I was a part of with ClickFunnels is different than the one now, obviously. Literally it was like one arm's length away back. That's Russell and I would sit back to back. And it's funny because his computer and my computer screens were facing each other, so I could see his reflection in my screen. So I'd be like building these funnels. It'd be like, in the first 2 months I was totally mute. I didn't want to say anything. So I was like, this is freaking Russell Brunson. Like, oh my gosh. Like, yeah. Oh my gosh. He's going to melt me with his marketing zeros and ones. And then to see his reflection in my screen 24/7 right there, I was like, don't say anything or you'll die. That was my mentality. But I remember, so my desk was a picnic table, right? And the picnic table was slightly too high and my chair was slightly too low, so I'd get a lot of back pains because I have kind of long arms, right? And to my right, this is just so burned in my head, that's why I'm going through all this detail. Okay, I remember the way that room smelt. I remember the way it looked. I remember everything about that room. To my right, over on the right, there was a book to the right. I never read it, okay? But it was a book called How the World Sees You, okay? And on the back of it, it said two things. One of them was, hopefully I can remember these correctly. One of them was, don't compete on your strengths, compete on your differences. I thought that's really interesting. The other one was, oh crap, I don't know if I can remember it. Anyway, right, don't compete on your strengths, compete on your differences. And the other one is, you don't learn interesting, you unlearn boring, okay? Now I want to take those two phrases real quick, and you have to understand that this is actually how your attractive character competes, okay? Over on the business side, you compete on strengths, okay? You do. Your business, the systems, the offer, right, the marketing. But over here on you, your attractive character, which marketing bleeds into for sure, but right, business side, your products, services, things like that. Over on the other side, you don't compete on strengths. Somebody will always be better, faster, stronger, right? Better looking, right? I doubt it for me, but right? Does that make sense though? Someone's always going to be more talented. Someone's always going to be boom, 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 boom. So you, on your attractive character, you will die. It is the fastest way for entrepreneurial suicide to start competing with their attractive character on strengths, because they're never going to be enough. You start comparing yourselves to ideals. You do, and the problem with ideals is that you don't know if you ever hit them. It's an ideal. It's fluffy. It's fictitious. It sits out there. There's no way for you to know if you've ever hit it. And because of that, it's not measurable, so it's not attainable. And then an entrepreneur just starts spinning their wheels. And they compare themselves to this ideal. And they're like, because they're comparing themselves with their strengths. Okay? Don't do that. Don't do that. Okay? I did that for a long time. I'm speaking from experience with this stuff, okay? I did that for quite some time, and it sucked. It was hard, because what happened was you start saying things like, man, I just don't know if I'm ever going to make this. Am I ever actually going to be successful with this? Right? Every one of us has said that. Come on, I know we all have, right? Am I ever going to... Is something wrong with me? Oh my gosh, another 2 people made $1 million, made the 2 Comma Club today. Crap. Gosh dang it, are you kidding me? Right? What's wrong with me? Something must be wrong with me, because it's not the funnel. It's not this. It's not this. It has to be me, right? And an entrepreneur starts to blame themselves. And the reason why is because they're comparing themselves to where the other people are, right? They're comparing themselves to another person's business. That's a stupid comparison. Don't do it, okay? The way to move forward on the attractive character side is to compare you to your history. That's it. That is what keeps you from self-sabotaging, from literally burying yourself. It's like It's like your brain eventually turns submarine mode and it doesn't know how to go back up, and you start sinking and going further and further and further and further, and you just go down and down. Oh crap, I can't get this. Something must be wrong with me because all these other people are getting it done. Right? And they're comparing them. Something's wrong with me because all these other people are getting it done. This business side, they're comparing themselves with somebody's business. Stupid, dumb comparison. Don't do that, okay? And you sink. So while a business competes on strengths, an attractive character competes on differences, okay? You compete on differences. And when you do it that way, it is so much easier. My gosh, guys, you save your sanity, okay? If you guys haven't followed me on Instagram, I think you'll like it. Monday morning, I always yell. And it's exactly what it sounds like. I yell. And I get up and I say, woo, yeah. And maybe I should like put in a little scream for you guys. Actually, no, go follow me. It's actually super cool. And then what I've been doing lately is having a whole bunch of you guys yell back. And I've got a little highlight. It's like Russell's in there yelling, right? Paying June's in there yelling. Like, anyway, it's really fun. Go check it out if you want to. But you'll see what I'm talking about. But why do I do that? It's because it's what I would do anyway. I'm just being me louder. Okay, that's the real trick with becoming this attractive character. When you become the attractive character, first of all, you know, the internet and this internet business does not exist for you to have to change. Okay, meaning there's this facade, right? There's this facade about what it means to be successful. I don't own any expensive fancy cars, right? I'm not living in a mansion, right? And there's this facade that's complete garbage. When it comes to what it means to be successful on the internet, there's this persona that you have to go live. It's crap. It's complete garbage. Don't believe it. Okay? It's not. It doesn't make sense. Okay? Those are people competing, and for those people who are doing it because that's who they truly are, great. I'm not poo-pooing on that. Like, that's great. Okay? Stay that course. That's awesome. What I'm saying is those of you guys who are not naturally that way. Okay? Who are not naturally, and that's fine. And if you want those things, that's awesome. But you don't, like, I'm saying this because I've heard a lot of people say things to the equivalent of, I don't even own a briefcase. How can I be successful? Right? And like, what? That's not what the game's about. Right? The business competes strengths. The attractive character competes differences. Okay? What makes me is how I compete. So I listen to music more openly because I'm always listening to music. And my kind. I don't care if people don't like it. I do. Right? On the business side, I can't really say that though sometimes. Right? When it comes to products, I need to have slight reactions to what the market wants me to build for them. Right? But in the attractive character, that's not how that works. I can come over here on this side. I can do things like, hey, what are the quirks that I have? What are the quirks that I have? What are the little things that I have that are kind of make me a little bit weird? Those things that I don't necessarily want other people to see. Man, those are your freaking superpowers. Okay? That's the stuff to go publish about. That's the right now, I'm yelling into a camera in an office by myself. It's actually, like, it would be weird for other people to come see this. I don't care, right? For a long time, I would have cared though, because I had that same perception. I was like, this is what it means to be successful, and while I'm building this business, I have to go have X, Y, and Z over here, and I need to have this kind of suit, and I must look this way, I must act this way, I must be slightly recluse from all these other people and set myself apart. I still have to go a little bit recluse sometimes when I'm around a group of people just to recharge, but it's not for the same reason. Mentally, I have to recharge because there's a lot of questions 24/7 at events, you know. I'm like, I gotta separate and isolate for a second, right? But it's like, does that make sense though, what I'm saying here? Like, when I hear somebody say, I don't know that I can be successful because I have a stutter, or I have I have this limitation, or that limitation, or I'm dyslexic, or I have ADHD. Man, I've told several, anyway, I had this counselor once tell me I have a lot of tendencies of ADHD. And for a long time, I used to think that was a hindrance. That's garbage. It's bullcrap. But do you know that most billionaires are dyslexic? All right, seriously. Go look it up. Richard Branson. The guy's dyslexic, okay? Whatever it is about you, I'm not just talking about dyslexia and, ADHD and stuff. Well, whatever, I don't care whatever it is. Whatever it is about you that makes you feel incompetent is actually a superpower. Okay? Stop acting like it is this hindrance. The goal and the beauty of the internet and what we can go do is you actually can become who you are even more. Louder. You don't have to change you, just be a louder you. That's what the attractive character is. So when I go out, right, if you guys, again, back to Instagram. Instagram's kind of fun because I can do a lot of little snapshots of what I'm doing throughout the day. These episodes, though, I kind of plan and think throughout more, right? So, right, I got that little dummy down there that I beat the crap out of. I'm going to name it Poverty, so I beat the crap out of poverty every morning. Anyways, really fun. But, like, no one's telling me to do that. That's my own creativity and my own little weirdness, like, clicking in. And that's great. And what's funny is that if you try to go and you compete on strengths and you try to be something that I keep acting like this persona for being wealthy. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying if you compare yourself to anything else where people are like, oh man, I got to do that. I got to do this. I got to do that because he is telling me to go do it, because he is telling me, because she is this, because she is that. It will sink you. And you will have a very hard time connecting with your audience, and your audience will actually not feel like you're being real. Okay? When someone says, he doesn't feel like he's being real, it's because the individual, the person who's trying to become an attractive character, they're not actually being true to themselves, and the other people can smell it. Okay? They can. Okay? So what I'm trying to tell you to do is when you start thinking through and you start having thoughts like, I don't know that I am able to do this because I have blank. I have limitation because of blank. I have limitation because of blank. Those things are the things that you actually should be publishing about. Not that it's a pity fest. Not that you're walking around all the time saying like, oh, well, follow me. I'm terrible at this. I'm terrible at that. Like, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying whatever your little quirks are. I'm saying the things, right? The reason I can push so freaking hard is because I do have some ADHD tendencies, right? I got a lot of friends who can't do that, right? It is a superpower, okay? I got a lot of friends, and when I talk about that, all of you guys who feel that way, you reach out to me back. Wink, wink, okay? And you say, I get you. I feel you. I'm with you. I understand what you're saying. And if I was not willing to expose myself and the things that I feel like I'm limited on, that would not be an actual call out to my audience. Is this making sense? That is why I tell everyone to publish so much. That is why I tell everyone to go and stop. Like, don't take on something you don't feel like is you. Just be you louder. So while the business competes over here on strengths, on how much you can do, like further, right? While it competes on those things and the ability to give results, okay? Business competes on strengths. Your attractive character competes with differences, okay? Don't compare yourself, you, to somebody else. If you're comparing your business to somebody else, like, I don't see a huge, problem with that, as long as you feel like you are not your business. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes in an agency setting, you are the business. Well, there's a lot of danger there for you to actually go start poo-pooing on yourself, right? To be like, well, I suck at this, I suck at this. No. Bad. Okay? Your business is not doing that. Your business is not getting it done. You don't have the systems in place to get those things done. That's not you, right? We're talking about your business, right? And so get in that habit, though, that when you feel a critique being needed, I'm not telling you not to critique yourself. I'm probably a little harsh on myself, okay? But when it's time to do that stuff, run it through a filter. And the filter is, right, is this a business-oriented adjustment? Or is this just something that, who I am, right? And in one zone, judge, and that's fine. And on the other zone, don't judge, okay? Right? The business side, judge, critique it. Your baby, your business, it's always broken. Don't fall in love with it. But as you pass over this other no man's land and you head over here to this attractive character side, don't judge yourself for how you're different. That is your superpower, okay? And it is what lets you be you, and is what actually is the call out and the blanket of security for the people who are trying to follow you. They want to follow you, and what makes you attractive and what makes you followable is your ability to be open with the things that you're not maybe amazing at, or your little quirks here, or the things that you like or don't like, the polarity that you have. Hey everyone, I hate this, I love this, right? Right? It's very polarizing when I say phrases like, I freaking hate VC funding, right? I can think of 99% of businesses that really probably didn't need it, right? And that, I understand. People are not going to like that, and that's okay, because it's me, right? I'm totally fine with that. So as you think about it, right, and you come over here to the attractive character sides, don't judge yourself. Don't come over here and be like, oh, I should change. I should be this. I should. All right, I'm always for self-improvement, but people will tie their self-worth to the worth of their actual business. They'll tie their self-worth to the worth of their offer or how many people that they've helped, thinking that they are the business. And if you are in the scenario where you are, you need to start separating those two, because you are not your business. Okay, you can be the attractive character of the business. Okay. And then the business should have one. But you are not the new opportunity. You are not the offer. You are not the cause. You're the attractive character, right? Right? We think about the mass movement. We need attractive character, cause, new opportunity. Attractive character is in its own category, while the other two are separate and away and not at all near and not judged on the same terms and the same report card as the attractive character one is. Anyway, I think I've beat this one down like crazy. It's just I just want to help entrepreneurs stop beating ourselves up if we're not like that guy. Good, great, awesome. Be louder about it, and you'll find out it actually is an accelerant. It's a catalyst, right? An enzyme. Other synonyms, so that you can go forward faster. Boosh! If you're willing to be open about it. That's the key and the caveat. Again, it's not so you're a pity, a pity fest. Oh, look at me. That's not what I'm saying at all. But those little quirks about you are the things that actually are amazing and unique. Anyway, I think I've said the same thing like 12 times now, but it's because I'm trying to just hit it home, okay? And hit it home. So as far as what I would do after this episode, I would sit down and I would start thinking through and either write down or just start being cognizant of what makes you you, right? I've got guns all. This is a sniper rifle right behind the camera right there. It's an airsoft sniper rifle. But there's a lot, I don't care. I don't care talking about stuff. I don't, politically correct, whatever. I don't care, okay? Because it's me. So start writing down those things. Start being cognizant of who you are, and then being willing to share that with other people. And it will require that you drop a wall that you've probably been building around and didn't know because you're afraid of people seeing the true you. I'm not clean all the time. I'm not cleanly. Sometimes I'm a slob. Whatever. I don't care. Okay. My garage downstairs on my Instagram, it's not painted. I shouldn't Instagram now because it's not painted. Right? I hate that kind of garbage. So I'm just kind of slapping it down. There is one fantastic, I did this on stage the other day, and I'll wrap up after this. We were talking about the stack slide. We were talking about doing certain scripts and things like that. And I was actually talking a little bit about this. And I told them there's one really great therapy known to actually help people. Therapy is kind of it's a solution, right? To help people actually get past the fear of doing these kinds of things. It's really interesting. So if you guys kind of raise your arm out like a 45-degree angle, kind of in front of you, kind of 40, I'm going to raise mine a little higher so you guys can see on the camera here. For those of you guys checking out on YouTube, everyone else on iTunes, what's up? Right, if you kind of bend right at the elbow, so your arm's out 45 degrees, start bending at the elbow, and then get your hand kind of like right by your face, kind of right by your cheek right here. And what's interesting is that while you have been watching this, while you've been listening to this right now, without you knowing, I have ninjally, that's a new word, I have like a ninja, placed the most deadly spider on your face from South Africa, and it's gonna bite your face. Okay, just get that thing off. Just slap that face. Yeah, right. Just get it done. Get it out of there. Right. Anyway, that's. I couldn't tell if it was offensive when I did it on stage or if it was actually really, really cool. Anyway, they got the point though. Okay, some of it just buck up a little bit, and you guys are gonna be awesome. I care about you so much. Okay, so much. I think about you guys like 24/7. It's because I want. I look back and I see where I've gone, both from a revenue and a business standpoint, which is just boom, 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 like more than I've ever seen in my life. Okay, and it's not to, I'm not, right? It's because it's humbling, right? But then over here on this other side, I was not expecting all of this other stuff mentally to have to happen, right? And my attractive character has now come to a point in a spot where it is. The business doesn't move past the level of my attractive character anymore. I now have to develop individually, personally, mentally. And when I do, the business does not move past the level that my attractive character does. It's very fascinating. Anyways, guys, I hope that was helpful. It was a long episode. It's a longer episode for sure. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. And hopefully what it's done is make you cognizant of the power that you have inside of you that's already there. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Hey, thanks for listening. Please remember to rate and subscribe. Got a question you want answered live on the show? Head over to salesfunnelradio.com and ask your question now.